Hello, friends. We are back with another episode of a whole bunch of stuff that no one likes to talk about. As a creative, have you ever been stuck on a gig and wondered, why am I here? What am I doing? I don't want to be here. Why didn't I see this coming? It seemed like a good idea at the time, but here I am, and it's not a good idea. Let's talk about the 3 things that make a gig worth doing. But before we do, go ahead and smash that subscribe button. Like the video, and when it's over with, share it with somebody that might need to hear it. This episode is entitled The Music, the Hang, and the Money. So, without further ado, topic number 1, the music. It's why we're all here, right? Think about it. If you're gonna take a gig, hopefully you like the music, right? You're not just taking it because it's there. If you're taking a gig just because it's there, you're robbing somebody the opportunity of having that gig that maybe would appreciate it more. There's nothing worse than playing a gig and not liking the music. You're not going to prepare for it as well as you would if you did. And therefore, you're going to make your band leader really unhappy when you show up with a lackluster performance. So don't take a gig where the music doesn't inspire you. That's probably a pretty good rule of thumb across the board. Right? Numero dos, the hang. What do I mean by that? Well, it's pretty simple. If you don't like the people you're going to be around, you're not going to have a good time. It's going to influence everything else, right? This is sometimes controllable and sometimes it's not. Obviously, if you're the band leader, you can choose whoever you want to show up, and hopefully you're thinking about the personalities involved, so when they all come together, it's a good match. If you're a side man, sometimes asking who's on the gig can leave a bad impression with the leader because you're maybe only taking the gig because of other people that are on it. But if you can articulate it in a way that it's constructive, then maybe they'll see it as a way of you thinking about whether you're best suited for the gig. Sometimes there are musicians you gel really well with, and sometimes there's musicians on the scene that you don't gel with. And it's totally okay that you don't musically gel with everyone. It's just a fact of life. Personalities are different with music as well as people. So in taking this gig that you might be miserable on, are you looking around and realizing that everybody around you is not somebody you really want to hang out with? So it's really important that you just think about who's on the gig. Oftentimes on these gigs, you're going to be around someone for hours at a time, right? If it's a photo shoot or a music gig where you're at a wedding or a corporate event, or, you're doing an original artist gig, there's going to be hours where you're hanging out. It's really more of that than it is even playing music. Think about it. You play music from, say, 1 hour to 3 hours at a time on an average gig, and you're usually there like 6 or 8 hours. So making sure that you're around some people that you really get along with, or just being an easy hang personally, is going to really serve you well in the long term. And a quick side note here, a great way to get in good with your boss for the day when you're playing music is to just be available to help out. There's always something to do, and after you get your stuff set up, offering a helping hand to everyone that's around will really go a long way in building relationships with people. And finally, number 3, the money. Now, this one's pretty self-explanatory, but it's worth talking about. How much does the gig pay? Is it a lot of money? Is it not a lot of money? Not every gig you take has to pay a lot of money. I understand about setting your own personal rates so that you always make the money that you deserve, but some gigs are going to be more fulfilling artistically and are going to pay less, and some gigs are not going to fulfill you very much artistically and they're going to pay way more. The trick is finding the balance based on all of these 3 principles and coming up with a formula that equals a yes or a no. So here's the magic formula. And by the way, this isn't rocket science. In my book, if you find out if all 3 of these are in the plus column, then you have found the gig that matches you and you should take it. Where it gets interesting is when one of these 3 options are in the negative column. So let's go over it. Let's say you have a gig that has good pay and is a great hang, but the music is ugh, what do? Are those two pluses enough to overcome the negative? That truly is a personal decision and is entirely up to you. What about the other scenarios? What if the music is off the charts and the hang is with all your best friends, but the money is like next to nothing? Is that something you're going to be okay with? What if the music is awesome and the money is great, but the hang is going to be horrible? You just know that there's more than one person in the band that just totally gets on your nerves. Are you going to take that gig? Asking yourself these tough questions in advance and coming up with a formula that wins for you helps you be able to process this information whenever it comes to you and somebody's so nice enough to offer a gig. You'll know exactly what to say. The great thing is that this is all subjective. You can have your own formula and I can have my own formula, and each one of us is going to come up with our own decision. For me personally, I feel like I have to have at least 2 of these 3 words to be a positive in order for me to take the gig. The music, the hang, or the money. If 2 of 3 of those things are there, I'm there, and I'm going to have a great time. All right, everybody, that's it for this episode. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this post. Share this with someone that you think might benefit from it. We're all in this together. I'm an advocate for good workplaces, so this is a way that we can all do that. Again, thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you next time.